Hey, what is up, everyone? So we've got our final monthly update for season 15, and I think this is probably the biggest one, or in my opinion, the best one, because we actually got some unique new type of content. It's not like recycled stuff that we've seen before. So this update has a lot going on with it, so let's go ahead and get into it. The first update we have is kind of a recycled thing, but I think it's still pretty unique and fun, a little bit better than, say, like the fishing voyages we got at the beginning of the season. This is Megalodon hunting voyages. So now you can embark on voyages that will allow you to track down a Megalodon. So it's no longer has to be a random encounter. You can go and just find a Megalodon if you're interested in fighting them. If you want to do this voyage, you have to reach rank 20 for the Hunter's Call, which, if you've been playing the game for even just a little bit, you probably are either close or already past this level, so you should be good in that sense. But while you're on this voyage, you'll be tracking down the Megalodon and looking for debris that's left behind, and using a new tool called the Shrouded Glass, which will allow you to see the trail that was left behind by the Megalodon. If you've done the Lost Shipment voyages that we had with the Merchants Alliance, it's very similar to that, except obviously instead of finding a shipwreck with lots of treasure in it, you're finding a Megalodon that you have to defeat. So I'm actually pretty excited about this voyage. I think it will be a nice, very replayable type of voyage to do, and I'm excited to play some more of it. Next up, however, is probably my favorite thing in this update, and this is the Wild Boars that have been added. So this is a new type of animal in the game that can actually be interacted with. Last month we saw a bunch of animal life that was added to the game that could not be interacted with, like the jellyfish or the birds and stuff. This is something that we can actually, like, it has gameplay impact, which is really exciting to me. So the wild boars now inhabit some of the islands across the Sea of Thieves, and they're found in small packs on islands. Boars will flee when they approach, and they'll leave trails of hoof prints and fruit. Something to keep in mind though with these is that they may appear skittish, but they'll charge and attack you when provoked, so make sure to pick up the fruit that's left behind by them to restore your health. With these boars, you're in search of the large grand boar that's the leader of the pack. While hunting, all the boars reward the crew with meat, while the tougher grand boar leaves behind the boar tusk, a new type of treasure that can be sold to the hunter's call. Another addition with the boars is if you sneakily follow them to their wallows, which is kind of like their little home base, they will have a bunch of treasure that can be retrieved from there. So overall, I think these are really great addition to the game. You can get some meat for them if you want to, get that regen health and have some better food on you rather than just have fruit. You can get a new type of treasure item, which I'm sure will have commendations and rewards tied to that. And then you'll also just be able to get some regular treasure from there. So I'm pretty excited about these. And then on top of this, we have the new boar hunting voyages. So similar to the Megalodon hunting voyages, if you don't want to do like a random encounter, you can just go on a voyage straight to them. And this is a lot easier to reach than the Megalodon voyages. All you need is rank 15 in the Hunter's Call, which I'm almost definite that if you've been playing for even just a little bit, you probably already have this unlocked. So definitely go and check it out if you're interested. Next up, we have Hunting Spear rebalancing. So the Hunting Spear has gotten some changes. It was introduced last month's update, and I don't think it was that well received. I haven't really heard people talking about it. I remember I tried to go buy one from the Hunter's Call representative at an outpost, and it wouldn't even give it to me, so I gave up on trying to use it. But there's been a handful of changes to this new tool. So first, hunting spears are now considered a resource item when brought on ships, and they'll stay on your ship when you dive to a voyage or a faction battle through the tunnel of the dam. So that's a really good thing. I don't really know why they didn't consider it a resource item at the beginning, but that's a good thing. I think they need to do the same thing to the tridents if they're not already considered a resource, because there's no real reason why we shouldn't be able to dive with them. Next, a thrown hunting spear now deals increased damage to players, resulting in a one-hit kill on players at full health. So this is really good if you are skilled enough to use it. I think probably the easiest way to use it probably is if you have like a border or something that you could like wait at the top of the ladder and throw it at them, or if you're like setting a trap or something like that. So that will be interesting to see how players use it. I think there's going to be some pretty fun clips that people can get from using the hunting spear and getting that one hit kill. But I'm interested to hear what y'all think about that change. Next up, we have hunting spears thrown at or fired at creatures now deal additional damage. So basically, just they increase the damage across the board for the hunting spear, and pretty much the same with the next thing with the hunting spear doing more increased water flow damage when it's shot into a hole. Lots of good stuff there. I think the hunting spear needed a buff. From everything I saw, no one was really caring about this tool, so I think they needed to buff it a little bit. And if it becomes too powerful, they'll nerf it for sure. So emergent encounters with the Kraken and Megalodon now reward crews with additional treasure items when defeated, increasing the greater chance of getting Hunter's Call items. This is great because I always just kind of ignore the Kraken and the Megalodon because the treasure that you got from them was laughable. It was not worth it, especially for the time and resources that it would take to take them down. So I'm happy to see that there is increased treasure items for this. The Megalodons have gotten a change too, with the emergent Megalodons now posing a greater challenge. They're acting more aggressively towards vessels nearby, so those will be a little bit harder to take down. I think that's a good change because I feel like the regular Megalodons have always been pretty easy to defeat, and they've never really posed that big of a challenge, especially if you know how to take them down. If you don't know how to take them down, then you might struggle a bit, and if you're looking for a tip, I'd recommend if you're going to fight the Megalodon, just anchor your ship, and then try to take your shots as best as you can, and when it's charging, make sure you get a couple shots in a row as it's charging, and that will stop it from attacking your ship. So that's the basics that you need to know for the Megalodon encounters. They're pretty simple. I think this change will make them a little bit more interesting and more challenging, so I'm happy about that. We also saw some more changes to the Kraken encounters. So Kraken encounters can now occur on servers alongside some of the other world events, such as skeleton forts. While the frequency of Kraken encounters will remain the same following this change, it will allow other world events to cycle more frequently. So essentially, before, the Kraken event was viewed as on par with, say, the skeleton forts and other stuff. So if a skeleton fort was ongoing, you couldn't have a Kraken event, and vice versa. If there's a Kraken available in the world, then no other world events could be going on at the same time. So I'm pretty happy with this change. It brings the Kraken more in line with stuff like the Megalodons and the skeleton ships, which were able to have happen on the same time as the regular world events. So pretty good changes all around for this update so far. Finally, we have some commendations and rewards that are tied to it. So like we talked about before, some of the new additions, like with the Wild Boars and just the hunting voyages in general, have some new commendations tied to it. And you can unlock the Jagged Jaws throwing knife for completing all the hunting spear commendations, as well as the Wild Seas Curse for completing all of the Wild Seas commendations. So I'm curious to see what that Wild Seas Curse looks like. I think we saw it in the very first trailer for the season, and people were wondering how you unlock it. I think this is finally the way we unlock it. And I also love just getting new throwing knives, so I'm interested to see this Jagged Jaws throwing knife. I don't see any rewards tied to the Wild Boars, which is surprising to me, but maybe that's either not listed in the patch notes or might be added later on. Next, we have something that's been a bit controversial. I don't really know why. It should never have been in the game, but people always like to have their exploits and stuff. So this is a gameplay improvement to address movement exploits, and players finding ways for their pirate to become stuck inside moving parts of the ship or island's lift will no longer find that they are ejected through the air at abnormal speeds. They will instead be bumped out of the pinch point, but should no longer be able to gain a tactical advantage from this scenario. So good things all around. I think stuff like this should always be fixed. I don't really get why people get so upset about it. You can use it for your fun while it's in the game, but once it gets patched, there's no reason to complain about it, in my opinion. But anyways, outside of that, we have some new cosmetics. Obviously, the Pirate Emporium gets all their new stuff with like the skin Scriber ship set and other sets going along with that, as well as this month's free emote, which is the Relax Sit emote, which I'm happy about that because I think that is a pretty cool emote to get. And then finally, for the Outpost cosmetics, not a great showing for the Outpost cosmetics in my opinion. This time we have the Blue Result Hull, Sail, and Flag that are available for purchase. So you can check those out in the Outpost Strip Rate shop, but nothing else in addition for the Outpost shops. Some other updates, they have a new enforcement policy that's, basically relating to people who have been banned or currently suspended. You can take a look more at that if you're interested. I don't really think most of the people watching this video are going to be interested in that. Most of you are probably good pirates and don't have bans on your account, so it's not really going to affect you. There's also some changes to disrupt stream sniping, so they've done some changes behind the scenes to try to prevent people from going onto a creator that's live streaming or something and then using techniques to manipulate the game in that way. And then finally, they've had more improvements to ban evasion. I feel like we see this on patch notes every couple months, and if they have to keep putting in there, I wonder how great these improvements are. They don't really specify what improvements they made. They just say that there's basically further improvements that have been made. So not that great there, but overall, I think this has been a really good monthly update with some nice new content updates, some good buffs to certain stuff, and then some fixes to exploits that have been in the game for a while now. As always, there's a handful of bug fixes, but nothing too interesting in my opinion to go over with that. So with that, that's it for this video. Let me know in the comments below, what are you most excited about with this monthly update? And if you enjoyed this video, it'd be great if you left a like and subscribe. Until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all later. Bye y'all.